Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your opinion down below. Today's stories are from the subreddit r/am I the a-hole. Check the description for the links and timestamps. Am I the a-hole for not acknowledging I have a sister? 9 years ago, we found out that my 28F mother had a 5-year affair with someone she met from work. My parents divorced and she went on to get remarried to the man, Greg. My mother moved her husband and his daughter, Kylie, 26F, from his previous marriage into our house, and I lived with them before I left for college. I remained in minimal contact with them until Kylie joined my company and started working in my department. Nobody was aware of our relations since we had different last names, and I had told Kylie not to disclose anything about this. Last Friday, while clocking into work with a few of my co-workers, Kylie came up to me and asked if I could come home for a family dinner. By lunch, our entire department was gossiping about it and Kylie would confirm their suspicions. Fed up, I told the department that I do not have a sister. Things died down at work and I agreed to make it to dinner considering it was my mother's birthday. At dinner, I was bombarded with questions about why I refused to acknowledge my sister at work and refused to even call her my sister. Greg told me I was a petty bully for embarrassing Kylie at work and that he has had enough of me mistreating his daughter. He told my mother that my misbehavior was a result of my parents coddling. He demanded that I address him as my father and Kylie as my sister and to tell everyone at work that too. At that point, I had enough of his relentless chastising, so I told him that all he signed was a marriage certificate and not adoption papers, so I am not his daughter, therefore, will not be addressing him as my father. I brought up the fact that I know my dad had created an account for my college fund and paid child support each month, but they used the funds to purchase a new car and to pay off credit card debt. Back then, they told me that I would have to get a part-time job to help with paying off college because money was tight since they just got a new car. I always found it weird that Kylie never had to get a job to go to college and could afford to stay in a nice apartment during. Kylie was crying by the end of the argument. My mother broke down and yelled at me to stop while Greg called me an ungrateful bee. I told them that if they only have the capacity to acknowledge and care for one daughter, then do not expect me to be in Kylie's life as her big sister, and left the house. I guess Kylie posted about it on social media because friends and family called me up. Some told me I was being harsh and unfair to Greg and my mother, who took care of me, as well as Kylie, who had nothing to do with this, while some understood where I was coming from. So, am I the a-hole for doing this? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole, your mother and the boyfriend can go F themselves. Kylie hasn't really done anything wrong, but I don't blame you for not wanting to refer to her as your sister. You were what, 19 when they came along? So, an adult, and that guy is in no way to be referred to as dad. Do you still live there? Not the a-hole, not only do you not have a sister, you only barely have a mom. She clearly transferred her familial bond to the daughter of her new husband. You, on the other hand, are a constant reminder of her choice to betray you. They made sure the daughter of the newly minted family unit wanted for nothing, while misappropriating funds that came from your father for you and used them on themselves, screwing over both your dad and you, yet again. I'd say it's high time to take to social media yourself and air all the family dirty laundry. They see fit to tell the story in a way that has people siding against you. It's only fair that you correct the public record. Not the a-hole. While I do feel for Kylie a bit, as none of this is her fault, you are not required to just forgive and forget the fact that your mom and Greg broke up your parents' marriage, as well as completely disregarded you and your future by spending money that was meant for you. I think it would be better to have a one-on-one conversation with Kylie and explain your feelings in a civilized way, being as it's not her fault for all the mess and because you'll be seeing her at work. But you can for sure tell Greg to shove it where the sun don't shine. Just because he married your mother 100% does not make him your father or give him the right to tell a grown-ass woman how to live her life. Am I the a-hole for turning in my friend for a crime we both did? About a year ago, a friend of mine, Jay, and I were having a sleepover. Like most teens, we were staying up all night and we got bored of playing games while trying not to wake up my parents. Jay and I decided we should go outside and do something fun. Our neighborhood is a pretty safe place to live, and it was about 2 AM so everyone was asleep. Jay and I had recently been really into doing art together, and I had taken up spray painting. Jay came up with the idea that we should walk to the abandoned house in the neighborhood and spray paint it. I was hesitant at first, but Jay assured me it was fine since no one was living there. I realized that was a mistake now. I grabbed my spray paints, spray shield. We only had one so we decided to take turns, and put on a coat. Then we started walking. It wasn't long before we came up to the house. All the shades were drawn and it was pretty dark, but Jay set up a phone so the flashlight lit up the side wall. We started writing and drawing. I don't even remember what we wrote, but it was pretty big. At one point, I had gotten pretty tired and decided to take a break. I handed the shield to Jay and she kept painting while I took a break. Finally, we were done with our masterpiece and we both were pretty tired, so we packed up and went home. About a week after that night, I was busy doing homework when there was a knock at the door. My mom opened it and an officer was at the step. He looked a bit like the dad from Shark Tales and it kind of intimidated me. We let him in and he asked to speak with me in private. My parents left the room and he sat across from me at the table. He started off by introducing himself, P.O., and asked me if I knew why he was here. I shook my head. P.O. said he had a video of me from a week before with me, who he had identified, and someone else vandalizing somebody's house. I stayed quiet, so he continued. He said he could only identify me because the other person, who had been currently spray painting, was wearing the shield. He then proceeded to make me a deal. If I told him who I had been with, he would let me go with just a small fine. I thought about this for a minute or two. The officer thought Jay did all the work, so if I gave them Jay's name and got away with it, I wouldn't technically be lying. After thinking for a bit, I decided to tell the officer that Jay was the person in the video with me. Jay ended up having to pay a hefty fine for trespassing and vandalism, while I barely paid half the amount. I've been feeling guilty about this for a while, so I decided to bring this to you guys. I will say I felt a bit pressured to spray paint with Jay, but I feel that that wasn't the best thing to do. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. You are the a-hole. Not just because you sold your friend out, which they would have eventually figured out anyway, but because you got a small fine while she got a hefty fine. You should have at least offered to pay whatever made it equal because you were equal partners in that, even if you did less, you were still a willing participant. If I were you and wanted to make it right, I'd offer to pay whatever makes it equal between y'all. You are the a-hole. Jay didn't force you to spray paint, you joined. You provided the paint too. In my opinion, both of you should have paid an equal amount as both of you are equally guilty. You knew it was wrong to do, but you did it with Jay anyway. You had every opportunity to go, but you chose not to. You are the a-hole for pretty much everything. Vandalism, throwing your friend under the bus, saying they pressured you into doing it. Also, depending on your age, what on earth were your parents thinking allowing you to be questioned without an adult present? They are a-holes too. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that she needs to stop projecting her insecurities onto my son? My son has just turned 4, and he's the sweetest little thing. He was recently diagnosed as autistic, and he's a big fan of dresses and things. My sister has always been concerned about him, but I never pay her much mind. Since his diagnosis, she's been even worse with it. Her biggest thing is school. I initially wanted him in mainstream, but I'm still deciding if I do or not. I may try, and I can always transfer him later, either to a more equipped school or to homeschooling, which we've been doing for the past year and a bit anyway. Like I mentioned, kiddo likes dresses and skirts. He won't wear anything on his legs due to sensory disorder. We live in a warm place, so it's not really an issue. The only thing he will wear are his Onesies, but I don't think those are appropriate school attire. On top of all this, I have some parenting quirks she doesn't agree with. Last week I asked her about her kid's school and if it has any half decent accommodations. Her son is also autistic. Instead of answering my question, she went on this tangent about how I needed to get him help before putting him in school because he'll be bullied. She's always telling me to change the way I parent and is constantly berating the way he acts. She always plays it off as being concerned, but I know she's being sniddy with it. She was bullied quite badly in school, and so she tries to make her kids as normal as possible. I refuse to do that to my son. He's perfect the way he is, and I'm not going to traumatize him to make him fit in. The second something happens, he's out of school. It's that simple. She kept going on and on, even recommending overalls that clip in the back so he can't get them off and will be accustomed to wearing things on his legs. I think that's borderline abuse. She thinks he'll be grateful in the future. It essentially ended with a huge fight where I called her a whiny bee and said she needs to take her bum to therapy and to stop projecting her issues onto my kid. I won't fail him like our parents failed us. She got really upset and left, and her husband has been blowing up my phone, saying she's inconsolable and I need to apologize. I refuse, because the second I do, I know she'll be right back at being a bee and telling me how to parent my own kid. Now our parents are involved and are insisting I need to make things right. I'm still not convinced I do. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole, I'm autistic, and honestly to this day I still really can't wear long sleeved shirts or pants. Making sure your son is comfortable is a huge thing, and I'm glad you aren't forcing him to change. I really don't think people in the comments saying that you need to make sure your son doesn't wear skirts, etc. are being fair to him or to you. Not the a-hole, you are providing your child a stable and comfortable environment that will benefit him. Your sister on the other hand is an a-hole because she has no right on berating your kid or your right of parenting. She is hurting her own kids and it won't end well. Don't apologize to someone that deserves a reality check on their actions. Not the a-hole, and you should not apologize to her because she will just continue to attack you and your parenting skills. I would speak to his doctor about how best to approach the issues. I think forcing him would cause serious issues. By the way, sensory issues are a real concern. You can't just flip a switch and make them go away. You are doing the right thing by not listening to your sister. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story as much as I did. Don't forget to add me on Twitter, and check the shirts I post on Teespring if you're interested. Links in the description. Until next time.